Hello.
Hey, Paige. Looks like we have some folks coming in.
Oh, great. Yeah, we've got people joining already. Hi, everyone that is joining us. I'm Paige Reese, COO of SongVest. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to trickle in since we're early, and then we'll begin the webinar.
I'm going to test out sharing my screen real quick.
Okay. That is working.
And then if I present, you can see that okay?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, looks like a few more people are joining us. Hi, everyone. We'll just give a few more minutes for everyone to get started, for everyone to join, and then we can get started.
I actually did my hair.
I know, mine's. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for joining. Looks like we have a few more people joining. For those of you that are here, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A at the bottom of the screen to send us any questions. If they fit in with what we're talking about, we'll be sure to answer those questions either right then, or we'll save everything for the end and make sure we get around to answering everyone's questions. But Sean, I want to make sure we are respectful of everyone's time. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. For the new joiners, I'm Paige Reese. I am the COO of SongVest, and I am here to introduce Sean Peace, the CEO and founder of SongVest. And he's going to go through our investor presentation today on what's been happening. And we thank you all for your consideration in our crowd fundraise that's going on right now. So Sean, with that, I will turn it over to you.
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen here.
And like I said, for the few more that just joined, feel free to use the Q&A button or chat at the bottom of your screens to send us any questions that you have.
Excellent. Thanks for the introduction, Paige. Oh, I guess I got to use my mouse. So again, thank you for joining today. We're super excited to take this time to let you know a little bit more information about SongVest, kind of where we are, where we're going, and give you the opportunity to ask us questions, especially since we're going through an investment round for the company itself. So if you haven't seen, and maybe you have, music royalties really are everywhere and have been over the last, seems like 3 years. Whether it's larger artists selling their catalogs for a couple $100 million to different players like Hypnosis getting into the market, there's certainly been a lot of activity around music royalties as of late. And of course, there's a good reason for that, right? Music royalties have increased. Global revenues increased 18.5% in 2021 to 25.9 billion. Of course, that's really led by streaming. There was a 21.9% growth in streaming over the last year, meaning 2020 to 2021. So there's definitely a lot of excitement about music and the growth of music. The other thing that's real interesting that people are just now learning about is that music royalties really are an alternative investment. And it has been overlooked for many years. And really that's been because, there wasn't an easy way to kind of find music royalties, to understand them, and certainly to invest in them. In addition to that, because of streaming, music royalties have gotten a lot flatter in the revenue. It used to be music royalties could be very choppy, but with streaming, it's a nice kind of linear curve or bell-shaped curve, depending on what you're looking at. But the biggest thing about music royalties is that they're uncorrelated to the market. So, for example, we're going through a really bad kind of downturn in the market right now. And even though there's a downturn in market, you're not seeing that affect music royalties, mainly because are you going to, the economy really has to be driven pretty low for you to say, hey, I'm going to cancel my Spotify account or cancel my Apple account. So until things like that really start to happen, then you're not going to see, you're going to see that music royalties are that non-correlated asset. So what is it that we do at SongVest that's a little bit different? It was traditionally at SongVest and all the way back to a company I started in 2011 called Royalty Exchange, that we would sell music royalty catalogs on a one-to-one basis to investor. That means one buyer and one seller. But what I wanted to do for the life that I've been in the music royalty arena was to fractionalize that and sell them as shares to invested fans. And so it wasn't until the Jobs Act came out and Reg A Plus was released that we had the ability to create a song share, which is, again, a Reg A Plus SEC qualified offering. And that allows us to fractionalize music royalties and sell them to the general public. You don't have to be an accredited investor or anything like that. And that starting price is really flexible by us. Right now, it's around $100 to $250 per share, but that's really defined by us. So as we get more data, you could see that price fluctuate just depending on the offering. And then the cool part about this, as opposed to what you may have seen with other fractional asset classes that are being sold, like, for example, art or cars or things like that, we actually pay out not when the asset is sold, because the asset is never sold, but we pay out royalties on a quarterly basis. So you don't have to wait until 2 or 3 years in an asset class, other asset classes, to see a return on your investment. When people buy song shares, they see a return on that investment the following quarter. And the way that we do this is somewhat unique. Again, we're kind of a trailblazer in the industry, and a lot of this is really important because it's a unique differentiator, competitive differentiator that we have as opposed to other platforms. After we sign a royalty agreement, which basically is with an artist or a seller that defines what it is they want to sell and what price, then we have the ability to do this thing called a VIP auction. And the VIP auction, if you think of a normal IPO of a stock, they set the price. They say, oh, we're going to IPO. And then there's a lot of like, well, what's the price going to be? Is it $8? Is it $10? And then magically it's set at $10. The great thing about our particular platform is that in the VIP auction, it's a reservation that allows the price to go up. So if you think of an artist that is selling one of their top songs, and there's a limited supply of those shares, and there's more fans that want that, then, if it starts at $100 and all those shares sell out, or not sell out, but are reserved, then the price goes to 110. And if those are all reserved, it goes to 120, 130, et cetera. So we have a market making mechanism that sets the price. And then once that price is set and everyone has their shares reserved, then we submit it to the SEC, and then it goes on sale. So when it goes to sale, the cool part about it is everyone who participated in the VIP auction will have a 24-hour window to purchase the shares they reserved. So that's really key in our competitive advantage, because the fans are going to learn, hey, listen, if I didn't participate in the VIP auction, I could get squeezed out, because if everyone in the VIP auction buys their reserve shares, there's going to be nothing left for the general public to purchase. So that drives more people into the VIP auction, which ultimately hopefully drives the price up even more. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we pay out those royalties quarterly. So as soon as we get that money in, anything that's been accrued during that quarter, we then pay out to all the holders of the song shares. So as we just talked about, our platform includes the VIP auction and purchase piece, securitizing the offering, but there's two kind of bonus areas that we see for growth. One is through our music dashboard. There's fan engagement and upsell opportunities. On the upsell opportunity, it's really around driving additional revenue, because people normally want a physical representation of what they purchased. I mean, if we're on a lot of conference calls and webinars with people in the music industry, and you always see, gold records that they've earned or participated in hanging in the walls in the background. Well, we believe that fan investors are going to want that too. And the margins, frankly, on a $250, gold record album, or $500 one, or even a huge $1,000 gold record album that they may purchase, the margins are much higher on that. So that's one thing we really don't even factor into our revenue projections, because again, it's all upside for us. But we do think that there's a really good market opportunity to sell physical assets as well as just the digital one. And then the last piece that we think is again a differentiator between us and some of the other platforms out there, like Masterworks just got an investment of $100 million at $1 billion valuation. In their particular model, they're selling somebody else's art to investors. We get the opportunity to actually sell the artists royalties to the artist's fans. And so, just that connection where you're not just some disinterested third party investing because you think a piece of art is valuable. That connection between fan and investor, fan and artist, we really think is going to ultimately trump all of these other platforms, because music is so ubiquitous, with everyone loves music, all types of genres, people, different classes of income. In Masterworks, the average investment is like $30,000. So, the average fan isn't able to participate there. But for us, we're offering these song shares so that any level type of person can come in and participate. So we think, again, that's a really big competitive advantage for us. And the other thing that's real interesting is, we allow the artist, again, through us, to engage the fans. So, we need to prove out this model, but we really believe that fans, invested fans is what we call them, like they can actually do something on behalf of the artist. A super fan, isn't going to tell everyone, hey, an artist that I really like is in town for a concert or just released a new album. But we do think invested fans, because they do have that invested interest, can act, and the artists can ask them to do things. Think of it as their marketing street team. So that's another big differentiator for our platform as opposed to other ones that are out there. So as I just discussed, why now? What are the reasons why we believe that we're going to be successful? On the investor side, it used to be that because of low yields in the economy over the last several years, that is really spiked the demand for music royalties. But now with the market volatility, it continues to spike demand for music royalties because of that alternative investment aspect. We've seen there's a huge amount of interest in music royalties now. So with all of that going on in the market and all the interest around music royalties and people selling their catalogs, it does seem that, again, it's the right time for us to really grow the company. And then the last part is, like I talked about with Masterworks, or whether it's Rally Road or Otis, investors are becoming more accustomed to this fractional ownership, whether it's, art or collectibles or even rental properties or, loans. I mean, all of these things are starting to be ubiquitous in the marketplace. And so we think that we have a really good competitive advantage in the music space. And then the last thing is this convergence between fans and artists. It used to be that the artists and the fans were really far apart, but over the years, they continue to get closer and closer. It started with ticket sales and, meet and greets, and then there were Kickstarter campaigns, and then Patreon and Twitch showed up, where you're actually just donating to the artist. And so what we feel is that now there's the convergence, the tightest convergence of all, and that is that the fan is actually invested in your work. So we think that's really special. And then you've seen a lot of other extraneous things that lead us to believe that right now is the right time, whether it's millennials and folks investing in Robinhood or crypto or Coinbase. You've got the rise and now kind of plateauing of NFTs. There's been fan involvement, for example, the IPO around BTS, whether it's the IPO with Universal and Warner. People are just getting accustomed to things that we're selling now. So that's why we believe the market opportunity and the timing is right for us to do this. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is just why do we think we'll win? Why should you invest with us as opposed to anyone else? The nice thing is that for me personally, and actually our CFO as well, it's our second go round with music royalties. I started a company in 2011 called Royalty Exchange and sold that in 2015. They're actually still around today and doing really well. But what I couldn't do that I wanted to do at Royalty Exchange was fractionalize music royalties and sell them as song shares. And we really couldn't do that because of SEC regulations. So it wasn't until the Jobs Act was passed that gave us a route to market, and other people who kind of led that charge in the Reg A Plus realm to show the vision of how to fractionalize music royalties and how to get that qualified by the SEC. The other thing is that multiples do move the market. So one of the things that we saw is that when other players came into the market, like Hypnosis, et cetera, that it drove up prices to a level that people who wouldn't normally sell sold their catalog. And we believe that we can do the same thing, that fan investors will pay a higher multiple than a normal investment company. And not only does that higher price move an artist to say, hey, wait a minute, if I can get that price, hey, I'm more interested. But also we have a lot more flexibility than those other ones, because we have flexibility around, hey, you don't have to sell your whole catalog. You can sell 5% to your fans of just one song, and maybe you're only selling streaming. So we're making it a lot easier and a lot better from a monetary perspective for all types of artists to look at a platform like ours, instead of just the majors looking to sell for $100 million. The other thing that we have is, because we've been doing this for such a long time, we have a lot of top industry insiders that we work with and partners that we work with. So we have already a lot of experience in being able to take this platform to the next level with song shares. The other side is the fan engagement piece. Again, that's really a differentiator. If we can prove out the model that invested fans can actually help an artist move the needle, whether it's in concert tickets or when they drop new music, then that will really be a game changer. Now, granted, we still have to prove out that thesis, but either way, this is like a new level of fandom for the artist to work with. Well, you can think of, super fans as the, platinum card, and invested fans as the new black card, right? I mean, it is such a higher level than just a super fan. And then the last thing is we do have first mover status. We were the first platform and still the only platform that has fractionalized music royalties through a Reg A Plus offering. And we believe that we'll keep that competitive advantage, of course, not forever, but we still have it, at least for the foreseeable future. So I ran through that pretty quickly. I do want to take time for people to ask some questions. So I will turn it over to Paige. And Paige, if any questions have come in, I'm more than happy to answer those.
Hi, thanks for going through that, Sean. I know that was a lot of content for everybody to take in about 20 minutes. We don't have any questions right now from our participants. So don't be shy. Please send anything in that you need to know. But I guess you could tell them what are you excited about coming through SongVest in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing to me is as we get more artists on the platform is to really see kind of that artist fan engagement. We do believe that at some point, just as a company, IPOs, whether they need the liquidity or not, like it's just that, it is better for them to have their stock, tradable in a marketplace and have all of those investors participating. We really do believe that we're creating a platform in which that will be a key component of the music landscape. That part of what you need to do if you're whether you're a new upcoming artist or you're just releasing new music, that a key component of what you'll want to do in the future is to IPO, through our SongShare platform, 10% or 5% or 20% of your new music, just because it's the right fan engagement piece to do. And that's why, that's what I really think the differentiator is for us and all of the other platforms where it's so impersonal, whether it's a rental property, et cetera. We are creating such a unique connection between fan and investor. And that's what I'm excited about seeing play out, like how deep can that connection be?
Okay. We're getting some questions in, so I want to make sure we have time to go through all of these.
Sure.
Great question here. What happens to the VIP auction sales that don't meet buying up all of the units?
Yeah, so great question. At that particular point, what's nice is it's a test the waters auction. So we have two options if, for example, all of us don't sell. If they're close to sell, then we would work with the seller and basically say, hey, listen, let's got to 80%. And are you still interested in moving forward for us to put it in front of the SEC and create song shares and try and sell it all out in the marketplace? And they could choose, again, if we work collaboratively on it, they could choose to do that. And at that point, we would qualify the offering and sell it. And then we would look to see, as people learn about the platform and come in, that maybe we can sell the rest of the 20%. But even if we don't, we can still work with the seller and say, hey, even after the VIP auction, we get to SEC qualification. Let's say that we only sell 90%. We can still work with the seller and say, hey, are you willing to close at 90%? And we can do that. So it doesn't have to sell out. As long as the seller is comfortable with that, then we can move from VIP auction to song shares and from song shares to closing.
Absolutely. A follow-up on that. We have, I'm answering one of the questions we have had some VIP auctions, some offerings that didn't get completely closed due to not reaching that minimum. However, our registered users is growing incredibly fast right now. So it is possible that ones that were on previously, they may choose to come back and try this model again. For investment, for non-accredited investors, what is the minimum and maximum to invest in SongVest? Do you have those? I know the minimum is $250 through our crowd fundraise. That's the minimum in SongVest.
Correct. And there is no maximum. The maximum, if you're a non-credited investor, is a formula based on how much, I can't remember if it's how much income or how much assets you have, but I believe Dealmaker walks you through it, if you're non-accredited, that you have to fill out some additional fields. And I think that takes care of the calculation so that you can't invest more than what is what you're regulated by. But there is a formula that limits the amount that you can invest in being a non-accredited investor.
Question. At what point will investors be able to trade those royalty shares on the secondary market? And I know, we can answer that at this time, there is not a secondary market, but shares would be tradable at that point in time we were approved to launch one.
Exactly. So, of course, our intention is to have a secondary market at some point in the future. It isn't an expensive proposition. So it really just comes down to when is it right for us to make that expense to turn on secondary trading. And just as an aside, the industry has seen very light adoption of secondary trading. So that's really the hesitancy for us to turn it on as well is, I think we'll want to really gauge our investor interest on whether they want to participate in the secondary market. And if there is enough interest, then we'll look hard at turning it on. But there's no limitation for us to do it. It's our own limitation of cost and making sure the demand is there. Because, whether one trade happens or 1,000 trade happens, there's kind of a hard cost. And so we have to make sure there's enough trading volume to at least cover that cost, because we certainly don't want to do something where, we would be in the hole for providing that type of secondary trading.
Yes. Follow up for investors in our crowd fund. Do they get a quarterly dividend or a payout at exit of company, stock acquisition? What are the investors into SongVest getting? Yeah,
so what I would say is, specifically, I'll caveat anything I say that you really need to read the SAFE agreement that you would sign as you go through the process of investment, which really outlines what SAFE is, what it means, and how it works. So I'm not a lawyer, so anything that I say here needs to have the caveat that you really need to read that agreement and then read the Form C. But in concept, the way the SAFE works is that the price, because we're an early company, and this is the concept of what SAFE is, like we don't know what the value of the company is. So the SAFE allows us to go out and get investors to invest, and that at the next funding round, after we get a little bit more mature, then we can set the valuation of the company. And then your investment will come in at whatever that next valuation is. And in addition to that, there's a cap so that if the valuation comes in at something that's higher, then you're capped at what you're buying the stock at, so that you benefit from that delta. The goal here is not to be kind of a lifestyle company that pays out dividends. So I would not expect that anyone would ever receive a dividend. It's really around holding that stock and being able to sell it at some point in the future through some kind of exit. So if you look in the agreement, there's a thing called a liquidity event, and a liquidity event means, in essence, that someone either buys us or, if for some reason we went public. But if someone purchased us, then yes. So let's say they bought us for 50 million, then whoever owns, the stock at that particular time, et cetera, would partake in that purchase and that liquidity event. So at least at a high level, I think I answered those questions, where no dividends, you really make money on some kind of liquidity event, or if we go public.
Great. How long do we plan on allowing individuals to invest in SongVest round of crowdfunding?
I think it's kind of an open proposition at this point. What's really interesting for us is that, even before, we haven't even marketed our offering yet, but people are still coming into the website and then clicking through to invest in the company. So I don't think there's a hard, fast rule where we're going to say, hey, it's only going to be open, until, 3 months from now. I do think, I mean, we do have a hard limit that you can only raise up to, I think it's $5 million in a 12-month period of time. So, our goal is to, our kind of stretch goal is to raise at least a minimum of $2 million. So I would expect that we'll keep it open. And as long as people are still interested, then, we might even keep it open longer so that we can get more people to participate. Because, the reason we did crowdfunding was that we believe, just like the artist wants to share this with their with their fans, we want to do the same thing. The ethos of our company is to have as many, regular investors as possible, so that we're creating and we're also building that fan engagement of our company. So yeah, it could stay open for months.
And the last question I have with us, unless anybody wants to submit any more, would I be able to transfer my company shares from non-accredited status to a business company or trust that I form later? Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that question. No, I don't. I mean, I assume somewhere in the Form C, there is something around transferring your shares, but that would be deep inside the document. So I would not have an answer for that.
Okay, sorry we couldn't answer that one fully, but that is the last question that we have right now. I mean, the only thing, Sean, I'd like to add is just so everyone knows we've been doing this just over a year and a few months, with a team of 6 and 7 and now 8 people getting this all done. So we're really proud of that and looking forward to how this grows.
Definitely.
So if that's it from everyone, I know we're just right at 30 minutes here. So thank you for your time. Of course, you can email us questions on the website if you have any other questions, and we'll be happy to follow up with you.
Thank you, everybody, for participating. And again, feel free to reach out to any of us if you have additional questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.